Hello and welcome to We the People. From the Wall Street Journal to the Economist, open any newspaper or tune into a podcast and you'll come across this new buzzword, quiet quitting. A new workplace trend where employees reportedly return to work after the pandemic. They stay in their jobs, but they don't take on extra work that might cause them stress or affect their mental health. So quiet quitters are rejecting the idea that work should be the central focus of their lives. They're saying no, they'll say no to any request to go beyond what they think they should be doing, what they think should be expected of a person in their position and at their pay scale. They'll say no to extra hours, no to staying back, no to working on weekends, etc. So, is this an act of establishing healthy boundaries or is it slacking off? Why is quiet quitting striking a chord now, and what does it say about our broader cultural attitudes about work and our careers in the long term? At the same time this week, we had a CEO who had some advice for young workers. Stop whining and put in 18-hour days, he said. Is that promoting a toxic work culture? Is that glorifying 18-hour shifts? Or is it sound advice? Because only hard work can get you anywhere. Is that out of step in a post-pandemic world when we talk about burnouts, where many are speaking about shortening work days, even proposing such shifts as a 4-hour or a 3-day work week? Is that realistic? In fact, just today, a UK billionaire has been slammed on Twitter for calling employees who work from home lazy gits. The British billionaire Alan Sugar recently slammed people working from home and said that in his opinion, they should be paid less than those who go to office. So we're asking tonight on We the People, is quiet quitting about bad employees or is it about bad bosses? We're asking, as the global economy picks itself back up, is it time to get back to business as usual or is it time to set the reset button? Joining us first, Harsimarbir Singh, co-founder of Pristine Care, the man who has been at the center of a controversy after he shared some, quote, interview hacks to filter job seekers, to basically separate the chaff from the wheat. Harsimarbir Singh, thank you for your time. You have now deleted that post which triggered off so many social media responses and most of them not flattering. You suggested, I'm just going to give a quick gist of it for our viewers. You suggested making job-seeking candidates wait for 6 to 8 hours in office to test their patience. You suggested regularly scheduling interviews on Sunday and late into the night or early in the morning. Even asking candidates elsewhere in the country to show up in office the next day according to your tips. These methods help you identify those employees who will be early risers, late workers, those who can quote unquote hustle, and those who will be committed, those who are okay to work long hours. And the reactions, Harsimar saying, I have to say, they've been brutal, right? So some on Twitter are calling you the boss who no one would want to work for, no one should want to work for. Your response?
Thank you, Sarah, for having me here. First of all, it's Sunday and it is 9:30 p.m. You are sitting in your workplace and we are doing a work conversation. I would actually put that question first to you about long working hours and why you choose to do it.
I said I also life a long time ago. I work on all.
Yeah, I know. I also read somewhere. You work weekends and you probably take weekdays off while your husband works, weekdays and takes Saturday, Sunday off. I think the point I'm trying to drive home, it's a choice. It's a choice you make for your own aspiration, right? I think, in the introduction you pointed out around, is it the bad bosses or is it the bad people? I'll give you another stat. I was talking to our CHRO today about, when performance reviews happens, what's the bell curve of the company? And he was telling me for majority of mature companies, on a scale of, let's say, 1 to 5, 50% of the company is on a scale of 3. And about 20% is 4 and maybe 5% is 5. At Pristine, we are a young company, just like a lot of other startups. 50% of the company is rated actually 4 and plus, and about 20-25% is 5. We also have a scale of 6, right? So I think, as a young company, we are trying to build a very, high performance culture. One of the best quotes I've ever followed in my life was, late Steve Jobs. He said that you hire A's and they will get A's. You hire Bs and they will get B, C, D, and Ds, right? So I think as leaders, it is our job.
So are you
to
saying
find the
then,
best people.
Harsimran saying that once you've made it through your very taxing interview process, once you're in the workplace, in your company, the workplace environment is different?
No, I think even the interview thing, I think it went a little out of context. When you said we get the people to wait for 6 to 8 hours, what many didn't realize, in the 6 to 8 hours, they meet literally 10 people. An interview process, which at a lot of companies can be 2 months, we've hired some of our C-suite and leadership folks in the space of 2 days. I think we've been able to shorten that interview process. The other thing, which is the best about having somebody spend 6 to 8 hours in your company, is they get to see the culture firsthand. They are able to actually make a much better informed choice. Do I want to be in this environment forever, or this is not the right place? It actually works really well.
They're not just waiting and twiddling their thumbs and being on
Absolutely not.
Because what if somebody walks out after being made to wait for 6 hours? Would that not show self-respect? Would that not show actually how disorganized your office is if you schedule an appointment but you're 6 hours late? Would you hire somebody?
So it's not 6 hours late, right? Like I said, it's not 6 hours late. In that 6 hours, they will meet 8 to 10 people. They will get to learn about the culture. They will get to learn about the company. They will have an afternoon meal with us. They will get 2 cups of coffee. They can go up and walk down the office, get the aisle. We don't have any entrance card. We don't have any swipe cards. We don't have entrance register. So it's a very open office. They can absorb the culture. Like I said,
I want to first just make one thing clear. Harsimran Singh has done his research. We've also done our research, and it emerges that Pristine Care is a Gurgaon-based health tech company, and according to the internet, it was founded in 2018 and raised 85 million at a $1.3 billion valuation for the healthcare industry. Yet at the same time, people are saying you are promoting a toxic work culture. So I want to ask you, just as a CEO, as somebody who's a leader, a corporate leader, can you have both? Can you have profits and also have a healthy work culture at the workplace?
Absolutely. You would want to have that. Like I said, we are all very self-selection people, right? Let me tell you something you will enjoy. There are 2,000 journalism schools courses in the country offering, I think, 100 seats of journalism. That's 2 lakh journalists a year. You've been working for 20 years, that's 40 lakh journalists. How many have become Sarah Jacob, right? The number is minimum, right? I think it's the aspiration. There will always be people who will be more aspirational. We have a 29-year-old vice president in Pristine. Pristine is his first job after 2 failed startups. He's 29-year-old. But that guy is available to solve company problems. It has always been, contributing to the goal, contributing to the culture without ever we being asking of him. We've never tracked his leaves. We've never tracked his vacations. He doesn't have any, not just him. We have 2,500 people. Nobody has to swipe in the office. So we don't even track that, right? So it's a very high performing culture, which we are trying to bring. At the same time, there are people who are not able to make it. They don't want to perform, and that's fine too. I don't think we'll always find, everyone to be as aspirational. You saw.
Let's bring in somebody who thinks like you a little bit. I think, let me take the liberty of saying that Shantanu Deshpande, founder and CEO of the Bombay Shaving Company, also in the hot spot, in the hot seat, should I say. Shantanu Deshpande, you posted that post that said 18-hour work days and don't do Rona Dhona, and it created quite a controversy. You issued kind of an apology. You said you'll refrain from posting like this on LinkedIn, but you stand by what you said.
No, I think the intent is to work hard in your early days and kind of leave everything on the pitch, right? But yeah, I could have framed it better. There is no doubt about it. I don't want people to take away what they took away. That's the issue with miscommunication, right? What I'm wanting to say and what someone is listening, if that's different, that's the communicator's responsibility. So I would have framed it differently. But I stand with the core intent of what I was saying.
What was the core intent of what you were trying to say?
When you are achieving excellence, and you should, you owe yourself excellence, the only variable you can control is hard work. You cannot control anything else. You cannot control how much money you are born with. You cannot control whether you are born with God-given talent or not. Nothing, right? You only control effort. So you need to maximize that. Second is, when you are 21, 22, 23, you have the maximum energy and minimum responsibility. So if you are able to build muscle in those 5-7 years, whatever muscle it is you want to build, that carries you in that momentum carries you for the rest of your career, and you can have a very fulfilling, fruitful career, right? And I think we are going to see the migration of India from, like, if you look at the life we live versus the life our parents lived at the same age, it's very different, right? So the migration of India up economic classes is very real and within intra-generation. So if you put in the effort early on, you reap the benefits. And you don't want to be 35, 40 years old, having, kind of partied through the last decade and then regretting not putting in the effort when you had the opportunity. So that's pretty much what I would advise myself if I were 22. It's the fundamental middle class tenet of India, right? Mehnat karo. Every parent tells their child, independent of whether they are a farmer, they are a business person, they are a government employee, whatever it is. Mehnat karo is a fundamental tenet of the way we live.
Mehnat karo can also be exploited.
There's nothing different that I was saying.
Shantanu, mehnat karo can also be exploited.
Yeah, of course. I mean, India has multiple working environments that are labor intensive, right? We have manufacturing setups, we have call centers, we have a lot of places where sometimes there is mediocre bosses, there is work culture that is exploitative, and if you are stuck there, that's a problem. So I do feel that this is not.
But Shantanu, in that context, right, would you rethink what you said, given that you do admit that it can be misused?
No. I mean, I did not mean this. That's the issue. I said this as a piece of advice to any 22-year-old. I did not say this as an employer or an entrepreneur, right? The fundamental belief is that if you are in a place that is toxic, please get out of it, right? Good people don't deserve to spend a single moment in a toxic environment, whether it's political, whether it's with a bad boss. They're not learning, they're not inspired. The work is monotonous and not matching with your skill set, whatever it is. There could be millions of reasons. People are not respectful of your family or time. But if you are in such a place, if you feel that you are learning, if you feel that you are, you have an opportunity to grow, then don't take it for granted and kind of put everything into it. If the basic conditions for growth and prosperity are met, then put in the effort. Don't lose that opportunity. And a lot of us have opportunities our parents didn't. Let's be honest about that, okay? So we should not take that for granted.
But if you're not happy with the workplace, then quit, find a new job that you're happier with. Don't quiet quit. All right, let's bring in Rituparna Chakravarti, co-founder and executive director at Teamly Services. Well, picking up from what Shantanu just talked about, we are seeing the question whether quiet quitting is about bad bosses or bad employees, right? Do companies need to look at management practices? If there are quiet quitting employees, is that a sign that there are poor managers who don't want to do the work to support, to train, to coach, to mentor, to give feedback to employees? Is it about bad employees or bad bosses?
So the thing is, first and foremost, a little bit of a confusion going on. What exactly is quiet quitting? Quiet quitting essentially doesn't necessarily mean that there is a issue directly with work-life balance. Sometimes people feel that they are putting in a certain amount of effort, but they lack acknowledgement, recognition, they're lacking rewards. There could be issues around politics, they feel overlooked. There are many reasons, honestly, and in such situations, people actually decide that, that I'm going to be showing up at work, however, I'm not going to possibly be giving all my best to the work, right? That's essentially what it means. So, yes, sometimes it could be very individual. It may not be a widespread phenomena, but it's on account of a particular boss or a manager who's not handling his or her employees in the right fashion, or probably doesn't understand. So there could be a lot of trends. I think now more than ever before, I think organizations are extremely, I wouldn't say we are perfect. I think organizations are improving, but they are also realizing the importance of kind of listening or getting some kind of a pulse in terms of whether employees are engaged, whether they are in sync with the purpose of the organization, whether they're showing up motivated. we're doing much better than probably what we were doing 5 years back. However, yes, such incidents can still happen, one-off, which go unnoticed, unrecognized. And the problem with a scenario like this is that gentleman or that woman actually shows up at work every day, right? They are showing up, they're clocking in their hours. It's just that they are not as productive or as motivated or as effective as they once used to be. So it's a phenomena which is not easy to spot. But if there are any early signs of it, it needs to be tackled at the bud, right at the early stages itself.
All right, so people don't quit jobs, they're quitting managers. The irony is, we're talking about this attitude to do the minimal at work at a time when every day we read headlines about chronic unemployment in India, and that's why we usually have team leads on to give us those statistics. But that is, of course, a topic for an entirely different show also. But I want to bring in, and I'm very glad and humbled to bring in, somebody now who's been the first Indian woman graduate at the Harvard Business School, the first of 3 women to be employed by PricewaterhouseCoopers, the first woman to head an investment bank, foreign or private bank in India, and the first woman president of India's largest apex chamber of industry. Naina Lal Kidwai, thank you so much for joining us. I want to ask you to bring in the women's perspective, right? Is this, what about women? Is quiet quitting actually just old wine in a new bottle when it comes to women? Because women can't stay longer. We can't do like those last minute extension of work hours, work on the weekend, because we have family obligations, childcare, etc. We saw Serena Williams this week, in a sense, give up her, title at the top spot because she wants to have another child.
I don't think there's a different bar. The time periods that women may need this empathetic thinking and accommodation are well known, young children, etc. But those I view as temporary phenomena, because if there are women that you want to retain in the workplace, you just know that, and there are formal policies in many companies now, including much longer maternity leaves than we saw in my time, which are all part of that accommodation. And it is for women to embrace those, come back to the workplace with courage, because often you do find that you're left behind. But to go in there, embrace the opportunity, play catch up, and for the organization to not punish you for that time away. I have to tell you that when I introduced flexi working hours in HSBC, and this was a long time ago, and we were one of the first organizations to do this in 2006, interestingly, I had more men than women who put their hand up for it. And one of my senior most was my chief risk officer. And what he wanted to do was to spend half his time nurturing his not-for-profit, which indeed is a very successful not-for-profit today.
Wow.
And so reasons can be different. It's for an individual to make their decisions and for the organization to see how it can work that out.
Okay. I also want to bring in Riya Chopra. She's a freelance culture journalist. She's written for Vice, for BuzzFeed, etc. And Riya, is going to speak for the millennials who sometimes often get, a bad rap when you talk amongst HR personnel. They say you millennials don't want to work. They don't want to stay too long in one job. They're constantly hopping. So, let me ask you, what would you say in response to Harsimranpreet Singh, in response to Shantanu, and to the points that they're making over here? Because Shantanu says, look, when you're really young, you don't have family responsibilities, you don't have EMIs, you don't have aged parents to look after. This is the time you have to work, and it will pay off in the future. Or is it actually just workers sacrificing personal life to achieve employers' interests?
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me here. And before I begin, I just want to make an observation. There seems to be a pattern where founders go on LinkedIn and say things that they think they don't mean, and they have to go on national television to defend themselves. I would advise them to just hire a PR team to avoid this sort of thing. But coming to the point, right? First, I'd like to point out after this 15-minute discussion that the term quiet quitting might be slightly of a misnomer, right? Because what exactly are we quitting? As you said at the beginning of this segment, people still do 100% of their job responsibilities. We just quit this idea of going above and beyond for a workplace that doesn't go above and beyond for them, right? We've turned back and asked our bosses that if you want us to put more into work, what are you giving us out of it, right? If people like Shantanu and people like Harsimranpreet And, other founders, they want people who are exceptional, who are working 18 hours a day. I want to ask them if they pay them 18-hour salaries, give them benefits, treat them well, and create a work environment that holistically, has a culture of well-being. What more than 8 hours of work does a young person who signed a contract that says 8 hours of work even owe their workplace in the first place, right? And for whoever says quiet quitting is bad, what do you think we are quitting? I would say this is a phenomena where people my age are drawing healthy work boundaries. They're saying no to unpaid work. They're saying no to, say, bosses who are slightly exploitative. And this makes bosses angry because one, nobody's ever questioned practices like this before, right? As Shantanu said, we are now in a position where people my age are privileged enough to actually have thoughts about things like passion and fulfillment. In fact, after the COVID-19 pandemic, I think a lot of us have been struck by the fact that life is rather uncertain and our time here is limited. So do I want to put 18 hours at a workplace that doesn't respect me, doesn't pay me more, doesn't treat me well, or do I want to put those extra hours into things like family time and my hobbies and my actual passions? And I would say that founders till now have managed to overwork people with this rhetoric of mehnat karni chahiye, as Shantanu said earlier, or we struggled, so you should do it too, and this is your age to work. I don't think so. I think we need better reasons and we need better justifications, and that could be in the form of better pay or in the form of benefits, period leave, mental health days, stuff like that. If founders give that, I don't think people my age have a problem working as well. In fact, for a young person who goes back home after work, then does their side hustle, then spends time with their family, and then even gets in, say, gym or some kind of hobby, I would say these people are highly motivated and looking for fulfillment. They're just not finding it in work,
At work. Okay. So do we need to have these conversations to help us rebalance our relationships with work, especially after a pandemic that we've gone through? Harsimran Bir Singh, just if you could respond over here, do you hold it, not just you personally, but I'm talking about, I'm sure you speak with other CEOs, etc., startup co-founders, etc. Do you hold it against an employee who says they won't do over and above? What Riya Chopra is pointing out is, I'm not cutting back at work. I'm doing what my job description is, but I'm not going over and above. And do you provide as much as you expect of employees? Do you hold it against them?
Not at all. I'm actually very surprised around the comments. You have to also look at, there are around 100 unicorns in India, and I think more than 70% founders are millennials. So it's not the 50-year-olds who have built those companies. It's young people who have done well. And I think I'm not completely disagreeing with Shantanu or Riya, but with full respect, I think this culture of a basket of people who are outperformers who want to do more, and a basket of people who want to just do enough, I truly believe this always has been. I started my first company 12 years back in 2010, and now it is 2022. I think we've been seeing that culture all over. I just think it is more like a new diet, because somebody has coined the term quiet quitting, that it has become trendy.
But
like I said, it has always been the case.
I want to ask you, do you
but Sarah, I have a point to the question Richa raised. There are 2,000 members at Pristine. More than 200 of them are ESOP holders in the company, equities stockholders. What that means is, when we grew from a company which was worth 16 million to a company which is now worth 1.4 billion, they have grown 160 times as well. But the argument also is, it's that crop of people who raised their hand up, who came back and said, I enjoy what I'm doing, I am driven by what I do, I like to spend time here, and I'm just, too motivated.
Yes, I was just talking, somebody was mentioning that Google, you don't get great salaries, but you all get stock options, right? I mean, that's one way different companies give back. But I want to go across to Riya, but Harshman Singh, I just want to ask you, should companies have a policy that whether you want to take leave or not, you have to, because we know it is good for your mental health, because you mentioned people who are not taking leave. We know that it's peer pressure to others who may want to but can't. Short answer, then I want to go to Riya.
No, I think we are evolving to that culture where we might actually almost literally force people to take offs. But you will be surprised by the effort which people can put in than we might actually think.
Okay, Ria, quick last word to you. I want to also get in an audience. Just if you can get this audience, a person who has a question up. But Ria, go ahead.
Sorry, is there a question? Should I
Yeah, I just want to give you like last a chance to close up this debate.
Sure, thank you. I think quiet quitting is a term, as Harsimranji said, that got trending because it's alliterative and it sounds fun. Quiet quitting, it's a way to humiliate people who think that working 8 hours is enough. When it is, like we have lives outside of work that we are happily engaged in. I will say that even though I'm a big proponent of generous work-life balance and of, drawing healthy boundaries, there have been times, say, at my previous job where I've maybe worked a weekend or taken a call at 10 or something like that. And those have been times that I've liked my boss. I've liked my colleague who told me, please do my part of the presentation. It's my birthday. I want to go out. And you do those things because these people will do the same for you and they will bat for you when it comes to things like promotions, etc. The minute you have a culture that doesn't do those things for you, but expects you to still put in 110%, 150%, because, mehnat karne ki umar hai, etc. That's what we're against.
I'm completely out of time. Let me just get Radhika and then Harsimran saying one question to you. Radhika, quickly.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, from bringing this topic and also pointing out mental health here. Thank you so much. And ma'am, definitely I have one question. Like, shouldn't there be work-life balance and work matters do, but spending time with your loved ones also matters? So this question,
$1 million question, that's what you want to ask. Harsimran saying quickly, last word to you. What is work-life balance? Do you have a wife? Is your wife watching? Is your family watching? How would you describe work-life balance? 30 seconds and then it's bye-bye.
I think work-life balance is to each his own. I get up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I spend 3.5 hours with my wife in the morning. We work till 8 p.m. We come back. We spend 2.5, 3 hours. We spend, Sundays together, and we are able to find time whenever we want. But that doesn't stop us
for getting you to join us tonight on We the People. But thank you all for being part of this conversation. It's important. We all must work together. I'm sure we'll agree on that. Thank you all for joining us on We the People. Bye-bye.